What's up, YouTube? Franchise Sports TV back again with another video. Before I begin, like, share, subscribe, and also comment down below. Alright, I think I have a good one. So, the other day, I posted a poll, and a question was in that poll, whose era was the 2000s? And I give two picks. And one was Tim Duncan, the other was Kobe. And I think 76% of you said Kobe. Another 27% said Tim Duncan. And I was very interested from the results I got. Here's why I wouldn't say a problem, but here's one thing I want to point out about these two. As you all know, anybody who has subscribed to me for the longest time on this channel probably might have known or heard me say that Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan were 1A, 1B of the 2000s, right? I think the reason why Kobe had 76% on there, I think it was around 76, 75% on that poll, is because of how the way Kobe played the game. He was flashy. He was dynamic. He was a highlight reel. Continue to be a highlight reel. And I think everybody in their mind, remembers all those highlights, the greats, the clutch performances by Kobe. And I think that's why some of them put Tim Duncan behind Kobe. Because Tim Duncan his game wasn't flashy. Most people might say it was boring, but it was fundamental. It was the way basketball was supposed to be played, especially at the power forward position. But here's the thing about these two. People gotta remember, because some people did point this out, and my dad pointed this out, because I asked him the same question. He said Tim Duncan. He had nothing against Kobe, but he just said Tim Duncan. Here's the thing. Tim Duncan won in 99, right? He won in the 90s. He's the third other player that won in the 90s, behind Jordan and Hakeem. He won in the 2000s. He won in the 2010s. He won in 3 different decades. Kobe won 05 of his rings in 1 decade, which is still amazing, but Tim Duncan winning rings in 3 different decades is also. And people might compare the teams together, but Kobe did play with Shaq, played with one of the best centers in history. Tim Duncan played also with one of the best centers in history, probably one of the better point guards in history. People don't give Tony Parker a lot of credit. He probably played one of the best 6-man also as well. And he also played with one of the best defensive swingmen or wings later in his career with Kawhi Leonard. So I think that might be some of the reasons why people might put. But then again, you also got to think Kobe Bryant probably played with one of the other best defensive wings in NBA history, Ron Artest. And probably, I wouldn't say Paul Gasol's top 10 power forward all time. He's probably top 20. But he also did play with Paul Gasol. So I think pretty much when it comes to team-wise, they evenly match. And these two, and they're especially in the mainly in the 2000s, played each other. So somebody had to win. And there have been times when Kobe beat Tim Duncan, and there was times when Tim Duncan beat Kobe. So, I would say when it comes to the 2000s, I think both of them dominated the 2000s, because you got to think first 3 years of the 2000s. Okay, first 2-3 years was Kobe, and then you had Tim Duncan, and then you had sprinkles of. I'm trying to think of winners actually. You had the Detroit Pistons one time, and then you had the Miami Heat, and then Boston sprinkled in there. But mainly the teams that won the most in there was the Spurs and the Lakers. So it goes back to me saying that Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, 1A, 1B, played with one team. They play with heart. Of course, they played with different positions, had different skill sets. Well respected. I don't know, for some reason. Well, we're respected when it comes to people who actually know basketball. The analysts on, let's say, ESPN and FSN1, some reason they like to disrespect Kobe for whatever reason. I think I know why. And not all, but some regular, mainly the younger crowd for some reason, they like to tend to uh, underestimate Tim Duncan and his skill. Because mainly, cause I don't think any of them probably even watched Tim Duncan in his early years. I think some people forget how much a beast Tim Duncan was when he was in his 20s. I think some people got it freshly in their minds what Tim Duncan was before he retired, his last couple of years. But he was beneficial. People don't understand. He was very beneficial in the Spurs' last championship, because if it wasn't for him and the combination of team defense, they would have never got that ring, because Tim Duncan being down in the paint and the spacing kept Dwayne Wade, LeBron James from going to the paint, isolated, and basically made Chris Bosh an afterthought, even in his older years. But then again, also, Tim Duncan did play with, was coached by Greg Popovich, one coach his whole entire career with. Kobe went from Phil Jackson, Mike Brown, Mike D'Antoni, the list goes on and on. So he had to play in different systems, but mainly he played with Phil Jackson. He warmed to Phil Jackson. So I think it's pretty much even between these two. I will put these two. If somebody asked me who was the most dominant in the 2000s, if anybody would have said Kobe or LeBron, not LeBron, Kobe or Tim Duncan, there's no for me. But if somebody did say, like a Draymond Green said, oh, LeBron's been the most dominant force or dominant player in the NBA since 2005, we all know those are a bunch of delusional ass lies. Because the facts are there. And I ain't going to go through all those players that won during LeBron's time. So, with all that being said, tell me what you guys think.